Now we move to England. And this is England after 1066. The Normans are now in control, and William the Conqueror will reign in England from 1066 to 1087. In doing so, he introduces the Norman architectural style into England. And they're going to introduce innovative stone architecture at Durham. This is going to replace an earlier Anglo-Saxon church. And as we look at it, it looks very continental, very European, sort of a mix of the French and the Norman influence. And when we go inside, it gets a little more interesting. What we see is these massive cylindrical piers alternated with compound piers. Compound piers are the ones that look like they have multiple columns in them, as opposed to these massive cylindrical piers. And to give you an idea, these are 10 to 12 feet across, so they're massive, massive columns. These engaged columns will rise up and meet the vault. So what we have is this column that comes up out of the compound pier and ultimately matches up with the arch in the roof. And you'll notice we've gone to a pointed arch. That's going to be another element that points to the Gothic. These ribs spring from engaged columns to the vaults, visually drawing everything together. The vaults themselves are divided into 7 different parts by a series of transverse arches. So what we have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 2 bays together, but there's no arch in between them. Here, by taking out that arch, what they're doing is again trying to figure out what this rib vault can do. What can they do with it? Now, this is also going to be a major piece because it really points to the problems with the Romanesque that the Gothic is going to try and deal with. These columns are incredibly wide and they take up a ton of floor space. They're incredibly wide because, of course, all of the stresses of this roof have to pass through these columns to the floor or out to the clerestory, through the clerestory, around the gallery, and down the outer walls. And this means that we need bigger and bigger columns to create higher and higher roofs. That is our basic problem. We're going to have to start limiting the windows in these structures, or we've hit the maximum possible verticality. So, hopefully, what the Gothic is going to do is fix a lot of these problems. Now, what they do with the columns is unique at Durham as well, because you have the chevron forms, or these decorative forms, and those are supposed to mimic and break up these massive cylindrical columns so that they better match the compound columns that we see elsewhere.